Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here for this important press briefing. My name is Nick Pasculi. I'm the County Communications Director and Chief Public Information Officer for the County of Monterey. And we have guests with us today to help provide some context around the situation that we're dealing with on Highway 1 in the Big Sur area. We have representatives from CalTrans. We have representatives from the California Highway Patrol with us. We have representatives from the Monterey County Sheriff's Office, and we have representatives from our Department of Emergency Management. As I mentioned a few moments ago, we do have the capability of providing responses to any questions or any comments that are going to be made in Spanish. We would ask that you let me know either by sending me a chat or raising your hand if you want a response repeated in Spanish. Daniel Gonzalez from our Department of Emergency Management will be happy to translate that information for us here today. So first, we are going to hear from CalTrans, Kevin Drabinski, who is the Public Information Officer for the district that is responsible for Monterey County. And Kevin will give us an update on the situation with Highway 1 in the picture that's behind me. So Kevin, thank you for being here for the briefing. And what's the latest from CalTrans?
Well, thank you, Nick, for the invitation. And it's just a great show for the community of how we prepare for emergencies as a team and as a gathering of stakeholders, and how we respond and communicate out. Really, the first indication that we had lost the road in the southbound lane came yesterday, Saturday, March 30th in the afternoon. CalTrans became aware that we had lost a portion of the southbound lane, and that necessitated a full closure of Highway 1 just south of the Rocky Creek Bridge. That's at post mile 60 in Monterey County. This location is approximately 0.6 miles north of the Bixby Bridge, to help orient folks on this location. We were losing daylight and couldn't complete a complete assessment of that, but our engineering and geotech crews arrived on the scene at first light this morning, Sunday morning, March 31st, and did an inspection of the roadway. It was very pleasant to discover that the erosion and the erosion beneath the roadway had remained in place from where it was the night before. So it was static and it hadn't continued to erode into the northbound lane, which was a grave concern for us. Based on the preliminary assessment from our geotech and engineering teams, they were able to report out that was the case of the highway, and we were able to initiate convoys through this location. The first convoy was at 12 p.m. Today. There's another one ongoing right now at 4 p.m. today. At 12 p.m. we had a convoy led, a lead vehicle led drive in the northbound direction, and we had quite a queue of a few hundred cars, and we were able to, this view is looking in the northbound direction, and we were able to lead approximately 300 vehicles, possibly more, through that location. After that line was let through, we were able to let southbound traffic return to pass through this direction as well. What that did, essentially, the ability to offer those convoys, was that we no longer had an isolated population south of this location, because people south of this location are still not able to exit down to the south, thanks to slides that we have in place south of this location, down at Dolan Point and Regent Slide. So instead of having several hundred, maybe as many as 1,600 people trapped and isolated below this location, the convoys were able to let people out to the north and let people return in the southbound direction. This convoy schedule at 8 in the morning and 4 in the afternoon will be adhered to in the next several days, while our crews continue to make assessments on possible repairs to the location. We are monitoring the convoys with in-person observers to be able to see as the convoys pass, who are continuing to evaluate the slip out area. That's sort of our ongoing assessment of the risk associated with this. We're confident that we can actively manage this risk with the lead vehicles to set the pace and with observers on site. In the coming days, we'll be working on possible ways to temporarily stabilize the edge of the roadway there and to keep eyes on it and work out a possible future structural solution. And we're working in these days ahead, starting today, on a path to recovery. That's the CalTrans report for today, Nick.
Thank you very much, Kevin. We appreciate that. And with us also is Sergeant Oscar Loza with the California Highway Patrol. And Sergeant Loza is, can you give us an update from CHP's perspective on the operation so far today and yesterday?
Hello, so it's Officer Loza, California Highway Patrol. And as far as we know, we're just, we have 2 resident officers, myself and Officer Years. We work down in the Big Sur area, and we will be south of the closure, manning the closure at times and also assisting wherever available. And then on the north end, we have our Monterey office officers available. So I know tonight we're going to have some officers on the north end, and I myself will be working the south end. We'll be monitoring the closures, the closure there, make sure that only those authorized are supposed to be coming through. And until we get further guidance from CalTrans as to who could come and go, we'll just be taking, basically the word from CalTrans as to who's allowed to go through and who's not allowed to go through.
All right, great. So suffice it to say, Officer, we don't want people that don't have business down there, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So for convoys or people coming to south into the Big Sur area, we only want those residents, emergency personnel, any essential personnel that are going to be coming south. From the north, whoever wants to leave, of course, we're going to let them leave the Big Sur area, and the convoys will be running from 8 a.m. until the queue has been cleared, and then again at 4 p.m. until the queue has been cleared.
Great. Well, thank you very much for that update from the California Highway Patrol. We really appreciate your time, and we know you're super busy today. We also have with us today Commander Andy Rosas from the Monterey County Sheriff's Office. The Monterey County Sheriff's Office has been supporting the efforts down in Big Sur, and we'd like to perhaps get an update, Commander, from the Monterey County Sheriff's Office perspective on the Big Sur situation.
So as CHP Officer Loza just mentioned, we are also encouraging people to stay away from the area. The roadway per CalTrans is clearly closed, and only residents and essential business employees are being allowed to head down. Businesses are being allowed to head down to the area at those convoy times. What's really important is to stress to everyone that's in the Big Sur area that there are still law enforcement and emergency services available. In the case of an emergency, you could still utilize the 911 system to contact either law enforcement or fire and ambulance personnel. And we do have people that are already down in the Big Sur area. The Monterey County Sheriff's Office is working together with our partners at the California Highway Patrol and California State Parks to make sure that emergency services from a law side are available in a timely manner, and we will also still be responding. CalTrans has made clear that emergency vehicles are able to continue to get through this point of Highway 1 during emergency situations.
Great. Thank you for that update, Commander. We appreciate it very much. So we have a number of partners everybody's working with, and one of them is the Big Sur Fire. And with us today is Matt Harris from Big Sur Fire. Matt, can you give us a brief explanation of how emergency services are being handled in your area?
Yeah, thank you for the update, everybody, and thank you for joining us. As Commander Rosas and Officer Loza just said, 911 is active. Big Sur Fire has personnel and equipment in the closure area. We have a plan to mitigate any emergency that arises, fire, rescue, or medical. Last night, even through the closure, we had 2 medical calls where we actually wheeled the gurney across the closure area to a waiting ambulance for transport to the hospital. So we adapt and overcome. We're used to these types of things, for better or worse, and appreciate the collaboration and partnership with all of our first responder agencies and county agencies and support.
All right, thank you very much. And last but not least, we have Rob O'Keefe with us from Monterey, which is the county's Conventions and Visitors Bureau. And the hospitality industry has played a big role in helping with this response to this disaster, those down in Big Sur and those on the Monterey Peninsula. Rob, can you just kind of briefly explain how the hospitality industry has gotten behind helping the visitors and residents in this situation?
Thanks, Nick, and thank you everyone for this collaboration. I'll just say that I got word of this in the afternoon yesterday, late in the afternoon, pretty close to when it happened, from Kurt Gaffel of Nepenthe. And happily, we were able to get almost a dozen hotels on the peninsula offering evacuee rates for those who might not have been able to get home, residents of Big Sur. So the hospitality industry stepped up in a big way and will continue to do so as needed. We will also Monterey will definitely put out information about what can and can't be done right now. As far as, you know, as we've talked about and has been talked about, Big Sur is not available in the way that it has been in the past. And so we will put out messaging that discourages any visitation under the current conditions. It just can't happen. So we'll be helpful, I think, in making sure people know well before they even visit that that's not accessible to them. I would point out also, I think, Nick, we talked about earlier that essential workers for Big Sur would include hospitality employees who have positions down there. And I think if everyone remembers back when the bridge was out and the slide and Big Sur was effectively an island, there were still businesses open. So for a variety of reasons, it's important to allow accessibility there, and I appreciate the collaboration on that. We'll keep the messaging going consistent with CalTrans information and other. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Rob, for that update. We appreciate the support of the hospitality industry. At this time, I'd like to open it up to our news media with questions. You can raise your hand and I will recognize you. When I do recognize you, if your station or publication name is not in your name, please identify which organization you're with. So now's the time to ask your questions. All right, Dave Kellogg, go right ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Dave Kellogg from the Monterey Herald. We have a forecast of more rain coming in on next weekend. Is there concern that this slip out will grow?
Well, we'll have on-site monitoring around the clock of this site, right? So not only during the convoy hours where we're observing how the vehicles are affecting the roadway, but it should be clear that the convoy access will remain available 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. every day, except under two major conditions. One is we won't have convoys through during inclement weather. And two, if the site conditions change to where we have any concern, we won't have convoys at that time as well. So it's impossible to say today if the physical, how or to what degree the physical condition of the roadway might change. Just the public should be aware that we continue to monitor this at all times during this repair time.
Is there any idea of when the repairs might start?
No, it's early days, and we hope to be able between the hours of the closures, right, between 8 and 4, to attempt some sort of stabilization of the edge. We'll in preparation for possibly a longer structural repair, but that's in the early days, and we're just responding, you know, the second day to this, so we don't really have an estimate for that. Updates will continue to be provided.
Great, thank you very much. Scott, with the iPhone, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question. Please identify what organization you're with. Scott? Scott's iPhone.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm with KAZU. Question for Rob O'Keefe. I was just wondering if you can talk about the economic impact of these closures. I know it's early yet, but what is the potential business effect as we head into tourism season, the holiday weekend, and so on? Thank you.
Well, again, like everything on the discussion that we're having, it's hard to tell at this point. In the year that that Highway 1 was completely closed out, a little over a year, it's about $500 million in economic impact as determined through a study from Visit California. That's obviously worst case scenario, or at least the worst case scenario we've suffered in recent times. It's going to have a serious impact, and we are working again with Visit California to determine what that might look like on a per month basis, if we can do that. But I don't have a solid answer for you yet, Scott. That is definitely something that we're working on right now.
Okay, great. And Scott, your hand is still raised. Did you have a follow-up?
No, I'm sorry. I will take that down.
All
I can
right, thank
figure out how. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Edgar Sandoval, welcome, and go ahead and mention your news agency.
Yes, hi, it's Edgar Sandoval with the New York Times, on weekend duty here. But I want to see if anyone can talk about how unusual this weather is in California right now, and if global warming, climate change, it's a part of the reason why this is happening.
We don't have anyone, I'm sorry, Edgar, on with the National Weather Service or with NOAA. I can certainly put you in contact with those folks. It has been a very wet year, as you're aware, as was last year. So, but we don't have anybody on the conference today that can answer that question. I will follow up with you afterwards, okay?
Great, thank you.
All right. Derek.
Hey, good afternoon. This is Derek with KION and Telemundo. Hope you guys are doing well, and happy Easter to all of you. I'm not sure who can answer this question, but we wanted to know how many people were stranded depending on what side, because I know we got a couple of viewers that sent us videos saying they were just there for a day trip, just hiking, trying to enjoy the Easter weekend, and all of a sudden the unfortunate incident with the road happened. So I'm not sure if Kevin can answer it or any of our local law enforcement agencies can. But we just want to know how many people were stranded because of this road closure.
Okay. I don't know if Officer Loza or Matt, if you can answer that. Harris?
Yeah, thank you. I can speak a little bit to that. We had crews on duty last night that set up an emergency shelter at the Big Sur Lodge. We estimated that there were about 1,600 residents and visitors in the closure area last night, between the different hotel rooms, the residences that we know are full-time, and then the visiting public that was down for the day and unprepared.
Great, thank you. And my follow-up question, will the temporary lodge still be available for people that are still trying to figure out their traveling plans at all? I know, like you mentioned, there were 1,600 residents, visitors having to stay at the Big Sur Lodge, so that's a lot of people.
Yeah, as far as I know, yes. And I think that's going to wind down as people exit Big Sur, which we've asked them to do and will continue to ask them to do. But as far as I know, yes. And I know many of the hotels are asking their guests to vacate as well as change reservations and such. And I don't think there's anybody on the state park right now, but I know the state park is looking to get everybody out and close the state park.
Go ahead, Rob.
I was going to add, the hotels that had offered rates for those affected stand by those rates. So if there are still people who, whether they're residents or there are people who plans have been disrupted, they're available, and we have information at cmonterey.com on those hotels and how to get in touch with them.
Great, thank you so much.
Any other questions? Okay, one important note is the Monterey County Free Library branch in Big Sur is also closed. However, the Wi-Fi is available at the branch in the parking lot. And so for those residents or visitors that happen to be in that area that need to access Wi-Fi, they could do so from the Monterey County Free Library branch in Big Sur. If there's no other questions, I will follow up with Edgar and get you the contact information for the National Weather Service. And in the meantime, for the County of Monterey, we certainly appreciate all your interest in this developing story, and we appreciate you helping us get information out to the public. It's very important that we get accurate, timely information to our public. So thank you very much. Have a good evening. And again, happy Easter to you all.
Thank you, Nick.